English is known as a stressed language. Stressed languages are languages spoken with differing degrees of emphasis on the words and syllables in the sentences. Hi guys, welcome to Fluently Speaking with Bola. My name is Omobolanle Adeshui. Today we will be talking about syllables and stress. Now, what is a syllable? A syllable is a unit of pronunciation with one vowel sound. Now, you could have several of them because there are multisyllabic words, there are disyllabic words, those with just two syllables, and then you have the monosyllabic words, one syllable. Now, for words with one syllable, that's the monosyllabic words, you really do not need to stress anything, just like saying book. But when it comes to disyllabic words, words like cliche, follow, then you begin to talk about stress, and then you move on to three syllables, four, and so on. So you have monosyllabic words like book, buy, hear, why, and then you have disyllabic words like follow, cliche, many. You have the trisyllabic words, those with three syllables: embargo, moribund, inferno, embarrass. Now, there are several ways to improve your spoken English. You could watch movies, English speaking movies, engage in conversations in English language, and also listen to native speakers, especially on their stations. For instance, a BBC is one station where you get to learn how to converse in British English and how to speak it better. That's if you are really interested in learning British English. There are other accents, for instance, American English on CNN, but because, I usually talk about the fact that we were colonized by the British, and so we tend to tilt towards British English. But it's not bad if you want to learn the American accent. You could also listen more to their stations, CNN and the like. Okay, so, and I also mentioned the fact that you can watch movies, listen to radio. Now, I can recommend TV, watching news channel, watching radio, but when it comes to movies, I'm not very good with recommending movies. But it's Google to the rescue. You can always Google British movies or American movies that you think would help boost your spoken English. And also keep it locked on Fluently Speaking with Bola. That is another way to learn and improve your spoken English, especially British English. Okay, so talking about stress now, we've talked about syllables and I'm sure that was explanatory enough. Now let's talk about stress. Stress is the relative emphasis that may be given to certain syllables in a word or to certain words in a phrase or a sentence. To understand syllables and stress better, you need to understand phonetics, you need to know your vowel sounds and your consonant sounds. To watch my video on vowel sounds, you can click the link above, and also that of the consonant sounds right here, so that you can keep yourself abreast or watch all over again, even if you've watched it before, so you can get yourself familiar with the consonant sounds and the vowel sounds. Because when you're talking about syllables, what would help you identify the syllables in a word are the vowel sounds in that word. So every unit of pronunciation that contains a vowel represents a syllable. Notice that it is about the vowel sounds and not the vowel letters. For instance, in the word break, you have two vowel letters, the E and the A, but just one vowel sound. And so you have one syllable, a monosyllabic word. And in a word like school, likewise, you have two vowel letters, that's the double O, but just one vowel sound, and of course that makes it a monosyllabic word. Now let me give you some simple rules that would help you identify which of the syllables of a word to stress. Remember, I told you that you don't need to stress monosyllabic words. So for every noun, most noun actually, because there are some exceptions like we always say, but for most nouns with two syllables, the stress is usually placed on the first syllable. So you have words like climate, climate, anger, anger, treasure, treasure, pressure, pressure, knowledge, knowledge. You also stress the first syllable of most two-syllable adjectives. Remember the first one? You stress the first syllable of most two-syllable nouns. And then you stress the first syllable of most two-syllable adjectives. For instance, pretty, pretty. As you can see, I'm representing the stressed syllable in capital letters, so it will be easy for you to understand what I'm talking about. Pretty, pretty. Flea pants, flea pants. Spacious, spacious, spacious. Interesting, isn't it? Now, what stress helps you to do is to make sure that you don't speak in one straight line. Like you don't just sound so flat and bland. So stress helps to give life to your statements, your words, your sentences. Now let's move on to verbs. When it comes to disyllabic verbs, that is verbs with two syllables, the stress is usually placed on the second syllable. Let's look at some examples. Require, require. Of course, require is two syllables. It's a disyllabic word because the aya sound is a triphthong. And so that's why I mentioned earlier that you have to understand your vowel and consonant sounds to understand this better. And so if you were looking at these as different letters, different vowel letters, then you might want to be tempted to think that U, I, R, E are different. That's about 3 vowel letters. But if you look at it as a vowel sound, you'd realize that it is just one triphthong, the aya triphthong. So the stress is placed on the choir, choir. Decide, decide, decide. So the stress is placed on the second syllable, side, decide. Protest, protest, as against protest. Now notice that the noun is protest. The first syllable is stressed in the noun, but when it comes to the verb, you have protest, protest. That's the verb, but for the noun, you have protest, protest. Rebel, rebel, as against rebel, rebel. Now, rebel is the verb while rebel is the noun. So you see how we place the stress on the first syllable of most two-syllable words that are nouns, and then we place the stress on the second syllable of two-syllable words that are verbs. He's a typical teenage rebel. Rebel, in this sense, is a noun. The protesters are rebelling against police brutality in Nigeria. Rebel is a verb in that sentence. Suspect, suspect. That is the verb, and then suspect, suspect, the noun. I suspect he is a suspect that was paraded by the police yesterday. Record, record, the noun. Record, record, the verb. So I see a lot of people mix this up, saying, I want to record my program. That is absolutely wrong. So it should be, I want to record my program, because the stress should be on the second syllable for the verb, and that is how you distinguish between the noun and the verb. Rule number 3. Stress the syllable before the last in words that end in IC, TION, or SION. Now, the general principle is to not stress schwa sounds. I've said this in several of my videos that the schwa sound is the most commonly used sound in English, but it is not stressed. So the trick is, every time you see a word and you transcribe it and you find out that there is a schwa sound there, avoid stressing it, because the rule is that schwa sounds generally do not get stressed in words. So as I said earlier, words that end in IC, like ecstatic, ecstatic, the stress is on the syllable before the last syllable. So you have ecstatic, ecstatic. Also in geographic, 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 geographic. Same as photographic, photographic. Now this is kind of like the simplest rule. Words ending in SION and TION, the shon sound. The stress is usually placed on the syllable before the last, as I said earlier. So you have extension, extension, retribution, retribution. We'll take a short break, visit the vocab spot. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. Let's move on to the next rule. When a noun or an adjective stems from a root word, the stress is usually placed on the root word. For instance, mind, mindful, 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 remind, remind, be calm, be calm, be calm. Next rule. In compound nouns, nouns formed by merging two nouns together, you have the stress on the first noun. Examples: toothbrush, toothbrush, bookshop, bookshop, notebook, notebook, football, football. So it's not football, football. So even when you use these words and you string them up in sentences, you have to still retain the stress. And that is what will make you sound more like a native speaker. You don't change the stress. The fact that you're speaking doesn't make you change the stress of the words. You have to retain the stress no matter where you use them. Next, the stress is usually placed on the last syllable of words that end in EER. Engineer, engineer, volunteer, volunteer, pioneer, pioneer, auctioneer, auctioneer. Finally, stress is usually placed on syllables after prefixes. Untie, untie, same as undo, undo. Okay, so I hope this wasn't too stressful. Although we're talking about stress, it shouldn't be stressful, and that is why you have those rules to guide you. And please remember that there are always exceptions to every rule, which is why you have to keep practicing, listen to native speakers, as I said earlier, and I'll see you in my next video right here. And please do not forget to subscribe before you go. Turn on the post notifications so you get notified every time I post a new video, and also share this video with your friends. I'll leave a quiz at the end of the video so you can try your hands on that and see how well you understand stress and syllable. And please don't hesitate to let me know if there are topics or areas in English you'd like me to look into, you'd like me to talk about. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.